Bannerlord can be brutal when you're first setting off. The land is swarming with rogues and villains, and it can be hard to figure out how to even get started. Once you're actually in the fight, the enemy is ruthless, and if you're not careful, you can quickly run out of money and resources. Then the next thing you know, your goose is cooked. Well, in this short series, we focus on the early game and share the tips and knowledge of thousands of hours playing Bannerlord in order to help you get off to a great and lucrative start. Buckle up. Now he's bigger than us, but he's running because of the quality of our troops, and that deserter helps a little, right? We're moving even faster now. Our prisoners are dragging us back, but we're closing in on this guy, and I think let's start here with this guy, although he just barely got ahead of us in the forest. Let's still start an episode right here. We're close to the stage where we can buy boats. We're making money. Welcome back again, friends, to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. Welcome back to our Get Rich or Die Trying series as we continue to help you fellas in the early stage of Bannerlord. This series continues to be an expose of different battlefield tactics and character philosophies that we've developed over a lot of time playing Bannerlord, trying to give you guys inspiration and ideas on how to win difficult situations, how to advance quickly as far as the game's financial system. So we've been a vassal now, or excuse me, we've been a mercenary now for 5 days for the Western Empire, and we're already starting to make riches here. Gadoosh the Greedy. Now, if it's confusing, there's essentially an alternate universe here. We're going to do two separate campaigns that are sort of running side by side. Our very first episode from level 1 included this guy. Now we're low level teens, something like that. And we've got a decent mix of armor of units, skirmishers and archers at Clan Tier 1. We're starting to pick up steam here, and once we have enough money to buy a boat with a reasonably powerful force, we're going to hit the water, right? We're going to get out into the ocean and do some mercenary work in this campaign as a pirate, basically, either as a Western Empire force or whatever. We're not going to have any loyalties in this campaign, right? We're effectively going to be a free agent, whoever will pay us the most. Right now it's the Western Empire. Next month it might be the Southern Empire or whatever, the Aserai. So we've got a force of Western Empire forces here at the sunrise. An unbelievably beautiful game this is, and unfortunately they're scurrying up into the hills here, which is just going to make this situation take a little bit longer than it might ordinarily take. We are playing Bannerlord 1.4. That's important to put that at the outset. And so we don't have the RTS mod. Unfortunately, that's still a reality that we're dealing with here. We've got some skirmishers in the 6th Division. I can show you our little farm division here soon. We've got a handful of horse archers. Kill this cataphract. That guy is a priority kill. Kill him. There we go. The guy's ganged up on him. We got our 1st division is a bunch of recruits, right? And besides that, we've got some medium level archers here. There's a lord we can try to drop almost. And the enemy's hiding up here. Even though they have no archers, they're hiding at the top of the hill, which is kind of unfortunate. There's no way they should be doing this. They can't win this battle. And going further away is not going to help them win. It's just going to serve to expedite or serve to slow down the speed of this battle. Now, you're going to see me hold fire a lot with our 6th division. That is going to be our skirmisher division. That is going to be the division that our main character is leading frequently in battle. We can just send our cavalry out of here. I don't really want them involved. And let's back these archers up too. We're going to do relatively serious tactics in most of these episodes, but it's not too complicated, right? We're going to be using 3, 4, sometimes 5 divisions of moving units here and flanking a lot. Here we have skirmishers moving in behind the enemy. They have archers towards their front, and so they're trapped and surrounded by our units. Now, there's a couple big advantages of that, besides the fact that they're going to do pretty well as far as damage taken. They also don't get anybody retreat. Nobody's going to escape, right? So all of our units are leveling up, right? We're getting every battle. We're going to get 4, 5, 6, 10 upgrades of our units. And because they're ranged units, it's even more profoundly impactful for our forces here, right? We're getting skirmishers to get kills. We're getting archers to get kills. I don't know what this guy's doing. You ain't making it out, bud. Guy stabbed him in the face and yelled in his ear while he was dying. For glory! The guy's dying. We won, right? And of course, upgrades galore, especially to our skirmishers because of these tactics. So we start today's episode with some medieval trash talk and a beautiful sunrise and another dispatched Western Empire force. Now I observed the Lord escaping again. That's the third straight Lord to escape, unless I missed something. And look at these upgrades. This is insane. We have Khans guards now from our eastern forays into the Khazate territory. These shipmates are upgrading very quickly. And some of these choices I'll explain, right? Early in a Bannerlord campaign, I definitively prefer Sergeant Crossbow. Later, I start to mix in more of the Palatine guards. Your battles are too short early in a campaign. You're not in a long-ranged skirmish, right? So generally speaking, you're going to see us lean towards the sides of having more front-loaded damage. Hence the skirmishers, right? We're starting to mix a lot of skirmishers into our force. I don't know if I mentioned it, but we've got a couple raggedy looking Marines here. One of them's, actually both of them are Marines. This guy's the shipmaster though, right? When we go into our parties, I could show you that briefly here. We've assigned, I thought we had him assigned. He's assigned those two roles and then, oh, that's why, because he's being our scout as well. We have another companion that's on a quest right now. She's busy doing, quest type stuff. And we're going to do this. We're going to do this village here. These are good opportunities in this stage. Clan tier 1, right? You definitely want to be maligning villages, right? You're going in here, give us recruits, right? We need troops. We're down to 47. We've got a bunch of injured from that battle. I think we'll just auto-resolve this, but watch how many casualties we get here and watch, well, maybe it's not going to be this many. A lot of battles, you'll get 10, 12 casualties and you'll lose like a Khans guard. Here we lost a Sea Raider chief, right? That's a painful loss. And you'll suffer 5, 6, 7 critical units lost in a battle like that, which is why you're going to see us tend to fight village battles, right? Because it's really calamitous to your troop, to your army's overall strength. And let's do one more hideout here, and let's show you what I do for upgrades. Although we got a problem here first. Let's see if we can escape. Do we want to escape? It's all out of order here. Here we go. Khans guard, archers. What are we up against? All trash. And some skirmishers, but mostly trash. Let's see here. It's almost sunset. Let's go a little bit further here. We don't want more forces to be involved. We might be able to heal a couple more units here, and we're going to fucking engage. Yeah, come get some.
Halt.
Yeah, you halt. Come with us. All right, so we're badly outnumbered. It looks like we're in trouble here, but if we play our cards right, if we do some good tactics here, I think we got a good chance to win. It probably looks suicidal. And of course, we're on Bannerlord difficulty. But we've got the kind of army that destroys both larger forces than our own and also does it efficiently. Now, archers, skirmishers, farm boys. And I'll zoom in to make sure we still got our farm boys. All right, so we're actually upgrading, right? What I want to do here is I want to move this slider down so that it's all farm boys. You want to have your division set up here. Now, he's actually the lieutenant. Let's move him to the skirmishers, right? We don't need those farm boys getting all his perks. And you might not think of your companions as having a lot of perks. They do though, right? That's a lot of perks at this stage of a Bannerlord campaign. And it's 5% here, it's 10% there. It's not a massive advantage, but it's a pretty sizable advantage for a battle like this. We're going to need it, right? We're up against a force that's basically more than twice our size. Now we've got 3, 4, 5 horse archers in here. In fact, I'm going to completely bifurcate our forces here. I don't want them mixed. So we just split it up like that. All right. Second division, 2 archer divisions. Let's have a stronger archer division. We'll have our weaker archers be here in the middle. And what that'll do is we'll be able to protect them a little bit more. Skirmishers over here on hold fire to start. And let's see what they do here. They've got mostly infantry, right? That means we're going to be able to set up some form of a kill box. Unfortunately, we're in a bad lighting situation. You, as the commander, need to be able to see, right, as the enemy's coming in. So I'm actually going to pull everybody over here. And I'm going to do that so that the enemy, instead of being there from our light perspective, is there, right? The sports analogy is where you're playing softball or something like that and you're trying to catch a ball. Instead of running right at the sun, you run to your left first, and so that you're approaching it from that angle. Hopefully that makes sense. And maybe that went right over the head of everybody. Of course, I was heavily involved in sports early in my life. Not so much anymore, right? You get older and that shit's a lot harder. All right, so this cavalry is a little bit of a problem here. I'm going to put some cavalry over there to start, and our horse archers over here, because your horse archers need to be shooting to their left, right? If you put your horse archers on the wrong side here, basically, they don't really shoot. They can't shoot, right? They're trying to shoot kind of across their body. It's another sports analogy, but it's like a football player. They don't recommend your football quarterbacks roll out to their left very often if they're right-handed, because they want to be able to throw, right? So they'll roll out to their right. I think that's the correct direction, I mean. All right, now we've got our farm boys here, just distracting. They're also going to absorb a few javelins. I like that, right? That's preferable to me in this kind of an instance. We need to bring up our skirmishers here. We need to bring up our horse archers as well so that they're getting some kills. Our farm boys are basically just following me here, right? This is we'll call this initiation for these poor guys here. They're running back and forth on this battlefield. You know, basically they look like they're terrified, but there's a reason for it, right? The enemy's chucking javelins at them left and right. It's amazingly effective just to have them sort of distract. Sun Tzu would say all warfare is based on deception. That is a Sun Tzu quote, and in this situation, it's very accurate. Now, these guys have great line of sight. Now they're shooting straight into the side of the enemy. These guys are our weakest archers, so we want to make sure that they stay out of skirmisher range. Finally, let's have our farm boys run across here one more time. Now, you can also get your horse archers firmly behind the enemy. And the last thing we do, the coup de grace. I've been told it's coup de grace. Is that right? You French fellas? Coup de grace, not coup de grace. That's the English way, I guess. We're not English. Now they're completely in a kill box, and it's an early stage kill box, right? These poor guys are in the kill box. Our peasant division can finally be sent in, although 65. I guess we can just keep them on the move a little longer. Looks like we lost some cavalry. They're tied up in there a little bit. All right, let's charge with the skirmishers. Some of those guys are out of ammo. And then towards the end here, we'll charge with our little farm boys. The horse archers can charge. These guys are out of ammo too. You see those Barii and other crossbow up there standing there. Might as well get them in the fray. And then everybody can charge. The enemy's routing. Our poor lord is bewildered. And it's EXP City, right? We're getting upgrades galore. Your own character can pile it up here. This guy's running fast. Coward peasants. It's a good opportunity to get your skills, practice your spear thrust and stuff like that. There's it looks like a couple guys are holding out, and the rest of their forces are just ripped apart. And upgrades and kills and glory. That's a force that thinks they can win, and they really have no chance. There's a couple of very stout infantrymen trying to hold up, and they get obliterated here, right? This is why we have built this kind of an army force. There's kind of a gentle song playing in the background. There's an incredible lighting situation here. And when you win a battle like that, that's what it feels like, right? That's what Bannerlord feels like when you execute a plan and you have this kind of results. 18 upgrades and 2 deaths. And these nobles are like, capture him, we've got him. And instead, it's come with us, if you please. We like bushwhackers, right? We'll get some bushwhackers here. And as usual, my prisoner fetish is on full display. It's like worse than an OnlyFans channel. It's so embarrassing. I'm gonna dump some of these guys. I just can't help it, right? These are nice troops. I want them. And even more upgrades. Our army, as if it wasn't strong enough, right? It's just nuclear now. All right. I'm not a huge fan of the pylon, but let's give it a shot here. We already have a masterwork though, right? Yeah, let's just leave it. I don't need to fuck around and find out. We're finally getting some banners in this campaign. I'm not going to equip these guys in front of you fellas, right? Everybody knows how to put their clothes on. You guys are our advanced players. You don't need that kind of help. And let's do this if we can here, right? We're just from one target to the next. No upgrades, but level 14, right? We are, God, are we 7 weeks into this campaign, give or take? And it's just to the moon. And it's going to get even more to the moon here. Wait till we get our first couple big battles. Let's assault this hideout. And let's kind of show you how I approach a hideout from, and you definitely don't have to do this, but from a perspective of, hey, let's maximize our army. Let's have the best results possible. We'll make sure that all of these are set to the highest. All right, so assault hideout. There's still enough light. Now, you could take your best troops, but what happens if they get killed, right? Let's say we're trying to maximize how quickly, from a perspective of efficiency that we're playing this campaign. Let's bring some of these bushwhackers to shoot the enemy here, right? Let's bring some of our lower level, these are tier 4 crossbow. Let's bring them. Let's bring our Coast Guard. That way these guys can get some levels. Now, it doesn't look like, I don't want to bring recruits. I'm definitely okay bringing those archers. What else do we have here? Let's get rid of those. Let's bring some of those guys in. And it's risky, right? By bringing in these lower level troops, you definitely risk you're losing, right? You can have a bunch of casualties and lose the hideout. Instead of success, you get not captured, but you suffer serious losses here. But I think if we approach this fairly methodically, this is a relatively easy way to power level our army even more. Now, we talked about it before, right? You can charge, and I like that for this kind of a situation, but when they're all just kind of standing there, my preference is you open fire here, right? These guys aren't even paying attention. You get shot in the back and mowed down by javelins. There's a guy coming up with his shield up. There's a slinger. Now, you still got to survive, right? That's the most important thing. That's why I'm going in here with the shield, and I'm only going to pull a javelin out for weak guys like Hillman. Now, once you get through them, I would tell everybody to hold fire, right? Since we're playing this out kind of in a highly, we'll call this a highly tactical version of a hideout. You don't need to. These guys are all short-sighted. They need glasses, evidently, because I'm like 80 feet from this guy here, 30 meters, and he gets struck in the chest with a javelin. You would think that these guys would have been captured already by the authorities, but evidently not. And now you can tell your guys to fire away. What's nice here about them firing away, I think we said fire away. There we go. Now we lost somebody. We're going to lose some more here unless they start doing their thing soon. Is your archers will get experience, right? Your archers are firing away. Now from here, okay, there's a couple more guys here. You got to be careful how far they fire away from. There are instances where it's actually bad for them to fire away. They'll try to shoot too far away. Right? These guys will try to be heroes and try to shoot the enemy while they're hundreds of feet away. In that instance, right, all it does is draw attention, right? These guys might even start shooting soon. This game is unbelievably beautiful. All right, looks like that's it. No dudes camped out there. And I wonder if you can even approach this like an actual battle. This little gate, right? The enemy theoretically is going to come rushing out. Realistically, you want everybody to stop right here. We've got range units. Oh shit! I didn't say flee. What did I do then? Somehow I hit retreat. I tried to say stop, right? Stand still. Maybe I hit retreat. Right in the chest. Our shields move forward. That's good because they still have a half dozen of guys up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, you got to make sure you don't get drilled. There's still a few guys here. And maybe this will have negative results, but I think if you execute this well, minimal casualties, maximum upgrades. We've still got the bandit boss to face. All right, a couple, 1 or 2 deaths it looks like. Of course, your companions are getting levels. And you fight, right? You want your guys to fight. Now, they're going to get drilled with javelins here. They're going to try to load their weapon. That's a negative here, right? These javelin throwers. And you got to make sure that you don't get hit. We've definitely lost a guy there who got double tapped. might even lose a couple here. These are tough bandits. These are highwaymen. We want these guys as prisoners, but at the same time, they're dangerous for us too. And we did lose couple 3 there. Let's see, couple deaths, but we get 9 upgrades, right? That's a good overall result for us. Of course, at 290, I think that's what our mercenary contract is. This is a lot of money. We just made like 3 grand. And again, the bandit boss, we've got one of these guys in our army now. These guys are great little units. Very high throwing skill. They're right up there with the wildling. They just don't have good armor. But they're very fancy little units. And it looks like we already hit clan tier 2, right? The increase of troops number here, clan tier bonus, that comes, of course, from leveling up our clan tier. That's another thing that happens when you just start smashing nobles like that. All right. So we're at a danger stage here, right? Our army's a little bit beat up. We need some troops, but there's also tasty villages here, right? I'm very tempted just to continue to roll on here. 15 wounded. The villages are generally pretty easy targets. Now, you can no longer recruit troops from villages, but what you can do is you can tell us, give us your sons, right? You can basically order them to give you their troops. I'm going to wait for sunset here. There's Southern Empire forces. This little peninsula here, we can get trapped, right? If Southern Empire forces start coming in here, we're cornered, right? You can get trapped and captured pretty easily. We're still pretty vulnerable. It's not like our force is elite. It's still just a bunch of thugs. It's basically a finely tuned machine, and it doesn't take much to break a finely tuned machine. Again, this is a battle you ought to resolve. Very, very serious consequences. We fight it. Right? Let's do some tactics here. Where's our other companion? I guess he's unconscious. We've got another companion on a quest. We've got an engineer companion that we're leveling up. I was looking for a scouting. I kept saying, you gotta have a scouting character. You gotta have a scout. I could never find one for this campaign. So we're a little bit bereft in one of the areas that I always recommend. We've got a guy filling in with like 60 scouting skill. Usually you can find characters with scouting skill. The game, the developers, they intentionally put several different characters in that are good at scouts. For whatever reason, though, we don't have them here. Just going to put our skirmishers here. Very, very simple tactics in this battle. Archers towards the rear. Horse archers towards the rear. Cavalry and skirmishers here right at the edge of this ridge. And this is a battle where you can use your little farm boys again, right? We can give these guys a little bit of protection by having our skirmishers here and then the farm boys behind them a little bit. They won't get shot. Same thing with this cav division. As this Imperial force and as these villagers come over the hill here to try to stop us, they're going to experience very uncomfortable consequences. Here they come, and you know, reverse slope decline works for a lot of different battlefields, a lot of different situations. Now they're shooting at sort of the margins of our forces, and that sucks because it's sort of defeating the purpose. Let's tuck our troops in here a little tighter. But very quickly, the casualties are going to start to mount. These guys here are going to get melted. And now you can charge with the farm boys. They're right behind this line. And probably 5 or 10 guys will go down here, but we have might makes right on this line. And we could have kited them to oblivion here for sure. The archers will definitely be smoking their archers as they come up. We can help here a little bit. Troops are starting to rout. They have a lot of archers here. This is a big militia force as far as games, or as far as the mercenary stage goes. When you have a village with 120 troops, it represents a threat. You're not going to lose these unless your force is full of trash, but you can definitely suffer some major consequences. I'm going to take my anger out on you, buddy. I mentioned that before. That is kind of a big loss because our character loses health, but we do have that perk where you get the 30% afterwards, right? I probably should have just charged with everybody at the end of that battle, even with a lot of experience, still do things that are suboptimal, but in the scheme of things, this is not going to set us back too far. Take us a day or two to rest, and there's 39%, right? You get basically 30% of whatever you lost. I'm not sure why we don't go back to 30, but there you have it. All right, now, as we get an autosave here, you want to be wary, right? This sends the alarm bells to Southern Empire forces. We've got 87 troops, but we're beat up a little bit. And most importantly, we're highly encumbered and slowed down, right? You're disorganized initially, but obviously also we're going through the forest, we're toting a bunch of prisoners, and they might start roaring in, right? Especially because there's a town down here, right? Lycaron. And as soon as I said it, here they come. Now this guy, he's attacking deserters. You don't mind taking advantage of that. And he's like, what do we do? What do we do? Yeah, attack those deserters, attack those looters, right? Take advantage of the AI here being dumb. It does look like I have rung the dinner bell, right? They're coming from every direction. You see that right there? Defending Sagora. They're coming in basically for vengeance for those poor little villagers. So one thing we can do is just try to get away. You don't want to fight them when they're all concentrated like that. Just take off, right? Fight them another time. Try to pick them off here and there. They'll get distracted, right? These guys have the attention span of a goldfish. They'll chase different targets. And now that they're running every which way, we can move back into the fray here. Now, what's this shit? Uh-oh, we might have a siege defense for today's episode. Let's see. It would be really early for our force. And siege defense is different now with 1.4, right? The enemy approaches it very differently. They rout, but they come back, right? They keep coming back for more. So give us some troops. And there's 100 here, right? So another significant battle. We're getting perks galore. All right, now we want this lower perk, right? Because we're going to have foot troops mostly. This top one is for cavalry, javelry. If we were asteroid, we'd take that top one. This one right here, I think we want the bottom one. Oh no, larger party size. And not too worried about tactics. Steward. Okay, that bottom quest is nice. Discarded armors are donated to troops for increased experience, right? If you got a bunch of ripped and torn clothes and shit like that, you can level up your troops. Add even more to athleticism. I think we're going to try to get into that castle. Sestadime. I'm trying to remember the layout. Some castles are terrible for defense. I think Sestadime is highly defendable. And what the hell do we have here? Besides another gorgeous scene. I can't tell. I'll have to get on the ground level and look. Our force is bloated though. It's like lethal. We do have a bunch of farm boys, but so does the enemy.
Follow me!
And I think this is going to work here. Let's see what we do. I like this little funnel right here. We can put some skirmishers right on the edge there. I got about 15-20 seconds here to get our forces set up. We can put some archers right up here.
Archers! Move! Arrow!
Ranged battles, right? We're all about ranged battles. Let's put our cavalry right in front in a shield wall. The skirmishers can be behind the cav a little bit. And then our farm boys, let's tuck them into that little barn over there, right? This is what's fun about tactics, especially small scales. You can get really creative and just shove the farm boys into that little village area right here. We've got some horse archers in the back we want to protect. We don't want to lose cons guards to villagers. We've got like 3 cons guards now, and that's because, of course, those units aren't dying, right? They're not gonna die readily in battles, especially to villagers and low-level scuzzy forces like we're facing now. Paramount that I don't get dropped in this battle, right? We'll suffer a lot of losses.
Infantry! Hold up fire!
There's a lot of farm boys actually in our 6th division.
Cavalry! This horse! Squad forward!
Now take our horses off of there, right? Those guys just end up being a really obvious target for enemy archers and or skirmishers. And what I like to do is just put them in a square and move them back. When the enemy comes in to attack them, they get torched. Now, I'm not going to charge here with these guys, right? I'm going to tuck them up into the little pocket here, right? We'll get support from our crossbow as they get close to our little farm boys, and they'll fight as a nice little compacted wedge there. That's going to give them a decent chance to defend themselves. Just because you put units somewhere doesn't mean that they won't defend themselves, right? You don't have to charge for the units to still fight. You notice every guy in that line is fighting. And now we get some help from our crossbow here. Our archers are really flaying us. We got a lot of archers here. But their morale has to be cratering. Their infantry's gone. They know they're next. They're getting shot. We can rain some javelins into their face. I'm just going to bob and weave here as we move in.
Charge!
Hurry up and rout, militia.
Archer, charge!
Mostly just trying to move it along. You guys don't need to watch 37 village battles in a row. All right, and our farm boys here get some vengeance at the end. This is probably their farm. Right, this used to be a Western Empire area. Now it becomes a graveyard for the Southern Empire. 11 more upgrades. Morale must be sky high. So it's almost 100, right? We're in really good shape. Of course, these guys are eating a nice balanced diet too. We're really spoiling them. And if we're going to do siege defense, we want to max out our archers, right? Especially siege defense you're going to be dealing with. We're going to try to make some kind of defense at the gate. Now this helps, right? We're now over 100 because when you sneak into a city or a castle in this instance, you're going to have not deserters, but you lose troops. And it is random. You might lose a consguard, right? There's consequences to it. We might also get nabbed here by forces before we go in, right? The Southern Empire has definitely got it out for us. Here's a case in point, right? They're rushing in. They're infuriated. We keep ripping up their villages, and I don't want to fight now. I'm trying to get to this siege. I think that was a quest, right? That's our... I don't even remember picking up this companion. Sometimes you play kind of absent-mindedly. We picked up this dipshit here. He's brave, I guess. All right, the Southern Empire is roaring in. I don't know if you saw that. There were 3 different armies coming around a corner. I'm kind of trying to get away here, right? There's a host of them, and they are closing fast. Now, the best thing to do here, wow, they just broke off. If you're going to get caught there, is dump all your things that are encumbering you, right? You go in here, men within party size is the main thing. That's intentional because I'm planning on sneaking into this castle. When you sneak in, you lose troops, right? So I want to make sure that we lose some of our extra troops, right? We're going to be able to recruit even more here. This is delicious. 134. It's hard to believe we're not even to winter yet. Keep organizing from the top. Again, your deserters checks come from the bottom. So we have 41 Imperial recruits to give up here. And preferably this castle siege starts soon, right? 856. There's a marginal defense inside, but I see a couple catapults, right? Odds of a fire catapult being in there, pretty significant. Now we'll see 849. I think it just started. It did. All right, we take a deep breath, and in we go. Now, right away when we get dumped in, and we're going to get dumped in, you want to get yourself to a catapult, and you want to get your archers off the walls. My preference now is actually to just have everybody stop right at the outset. Say stop. And then once I get to the walls, then I'm okay with the archers coming down. I do that because I don't want them clogging up the stairways. The enemy, or excuse me, the allied AI here will try to get their archers up on the walls. And I just botched it as hard as we can. And we just got captured. And this is a bug, I think. You can't escape this. So you're going to have to see us come back here probably the middle of December or whatever, the middle of winter. Don't do what I just did there. It's the nature of being a YouTuber. It's also a poor function here. I should be able to escape, right? I can't escape. There used to be a button here that says leave. It just inexorably makes me charge here. So this is another bug I'm going to report to Tail Worlds. We're still going to fight here because I'm a pugnacious motherfucker. We're not about to just give up, but I can't foresee winning. I'm tempted to lower the difficulty just so I don't have to. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch this shit. Fucking take some of this shit. We're making up for the bug. This should allow us just to fucking back out of this. And I don't think, I'm trying to think when the last save was. You know what? I think we did get an autosave recently. I'm going to bounce right out and we'll be right back because I do want to participate in this siege defense. And it's a pretty similar spot. I don't know. Maybe I had to fight one village battle and this is very similar. A little bit of deja vu. And I'll just include that shit in there. Seeing us have this disaster here. It's a good tip, right? Make sure you break in. Don't, this is very similar, very deja vu. Make sure you don't, try to assault what's interesting there is the garrison sallied out. I was quite surprised by that, but to me that's basically a bug. We don't often have to save scum on the channel, usually some kind of a crash or something like that. To me, that's basically a bug. There's no way that should be a thing, that once you hit attack, you're just inexorably drawn into that battle. And I think we're in roughly the same spot, although the siege hasn't started yet. So we're going to suffer some deserters here. And these scum Southern Empire forces are actually, they're kind of haranguing the village here. We'll see. Maybe we won't get the same scenario set up here. Now, this is a situation where, I could definitely argue you want to help. I don't know if I can back out of this, too. Yeah, we got to fight this now. I'm not sure why the leave button is gone, right? Basically, some of your ability to maneuver around the game has sort of been taken away. And obviously, with our Discord, where we have this wonderful privilege of direct access to Tail Worlds, we're able to make suggestions that help to continue to improve the game. We're going to continue to be active in the community, and obviously you guys are a big part of that. The best way I've described it in the past is we've got the megaphone, and all of you guys have basically the suggestion box, right? You give me suggestions to recommend to Tail Worlds, and I'll do my best to make sure that they hear the important ones, or the ones that are echoed by the most amount of players, right? Every once in a while I'll get someone suggest something that either seems ridiculous to me or whatever it is, and if it's one suggestion, I generally ignore it, right? In other words, I don't pass over everything to Tail Worlds. On some level, I'm obliged by Tail Worlds to be a little bit discriminating here, right? I'm not just gonna overwhelm them with different advice and suggestions. That's the whole idea, is we filter on some level and give them sort of a summary of events. In any case, that's one that I think needs to be adjusted, right? We shouldn't be inexorably drawn into that battle. There are instances where it's pretty clear you'd be able to escape it in game and you're allowed to retreat, but that one you can't for some reason. Don't know why that is. Now I need to make sure I don't get shot to death here in this battle. We're losing some units kind of carelessly. Siege defense is no question one of your best ways to power level early in a campaign, and it also goes to the point of some of the suggestions we've made, especially with things like fire catapults here as we get even stronger. Your fire catapults do way too much damage when they're thrown, in my opinion. When you throw a fire catapult, it does, in many cases, as much damage or near as much damage as it does when you shoot it from a catapult. And that's something we've probably talked about ad nauseum. They just need to reduce it some, right? I think most players agree that that's logical. So whether or not that actually happens, we shall see. And what's nice about that is the villagers usually like you doing that, right? And then when you come in here, you can usually get even more troops. Now, it doesn't mean that much in the scheme of things. We're going to get at least one more deserter check before the siege starts, right? 849. It'll start to tick down once the siege is started. It should happen pretty soon, probably by this evening. Now, there's two catapults in there, but it's an RNG element as to what type of catapult are in siege. Sometimes they're fire catapults, sometimes they're stone, and it's not always a guarantee you're going to get a fire catapult. Of course, we don't have an engineer in the fight here, right? We do have an engineer, but he's on a quest right now, and obviously we wouldn't have time to get him into this siege and then make a difference here. I'm really surprised they haven't started the siege yet. This shows the random element of sieges, though, too, right? We just 10 seconds ago, 2 minutes ago, we just fought this battle, and they had already started the siege. I swear before this date, but maybe I'm wrong. All right, heavy archers, and we got to get ourselves to a catapult, preferably a fire catapult here. Do a few more perks. Of course, most of this I had already done. And 2 javelins. We want to make sure we have our 2 stacks of javelins, and we have our little tiny banner. That's of really no consequence. All right, now we're going to assault the siege camp. I hope I didn't make anybody nervous. We're going to break in, right? We lose 27. We had 125 before. That means we still get 98, right? So we have almost half of the defenders that are inside this castle. That's why you have a chance here. Power bar looks grim, but if we can get on a fire catapult, we got a good shot. And not just a good shot, but we're going to get rich, right? And that's the whole purpose of this series. All right, so everybody stop. That's my preference. I also put them in line formation. The reason you do that, and a lot of guys have experienced this before, if I cut off all these troops with my horse, is that if your troops are in the wrong formation, they will very eagerly do whatever they want. They won't even listen to you, right? And look at this shot angle here. I think we got a pretty good line on these guys here. Good night, right? There's going to be some levels. Now, do they have a siege tower? I didn't see one. And are these our troops? They are. I'm going to tell our guys to do here is fall back, but it's very temporary. I'm doing it just to get them off the walls. Now we're going to run here to control them. And at the outset here, all I want to do is just position these guys in the courtyard. Right? All of our troops are getting off the walls. I don't want our crossbow getting blasted here by the enemy. We're going to need our archers for the gate defense. Now, a lot of people destroy the ram here. With the new system, I think you're better off just melting as many troops as you can as they approach, right? The siege tower. Do we have 2 fire catapults? That sure looked like a fire catapult. If we do, the enemy might not even make it to the doors, right? We're going to be able to just blast away. I mean, we're killing 50 troops or 30 troops every shot. And enemy morale wavers a lot more readily now in siege. We do have 2 fire catapults. They are being blasted. They are probably going to rout. We'll see. Now, I don't really want them to rout. I want to be able to throw some of these, right? We have our perks set up. We have a high learning, I guess the best way to put it? It's called a learning rate. Basically, our character is dialed in for this siege to have targets to throw these fireballs at, right? And they've got about 2 more shots here, maybe 1 more shot. Oh, shit. I got to watch for javelins here. I didn't think they could hit me, but they're throwing them now. Those guys routed, I think. Drill these guys on the bridge. Now the AI, of course, is getting smoked on the walls. This is normal behavior. I am going to get off here. I don't want to get hit 1 shot by a javelin. And this is just such a juicy opportunity here. Now I hit the ram there. I don't really want to hit the ram. I want to hit the troops. That's better. Now what you can actually do is multitask here. Provided you're careful. You can hit the troops there. Let these guys wind the winch. 1 or 2 more shots here. And now we can jump on here. Now that these guys have wound the winch for me, we can target those archers over there. Have some of that. Now there's rocks inside the gatehouse as well, right? We're going to be able to use those to full effect, but you want to make sure that the enemy is bottled up in the gate. Right? How do you do that in this instance? Of course, you make yourself a nice little square at the gate. The other thing you can do is charge, right? The AI doesn't always do a terrific job of blocking the gate. That's paramount in siege. I'm just going to leap out here. Let's see. Let's combine a couple divisions, and you want to get these guys to the gate in pronto, right? In a square, right at the gate. Now your archers, you just want to set up here in an array on the walls, right? Off the walls, right? We're just going to spread them out here in multiple different lines. And we have 1 other infantry division I'm going to take up where I'm at to basically blockade so I can get to these fire catapults. Right about here. I want to get, I don't know if there's fire catapults on the other side. These rocks here should be able to pick up. And here's our bottled up enemy. It's rock throwing time. Now they might come from the other side. I wasn't paying close enough attention. I'm not sure if we have... Sure if there's a, I guess I should just go look whether or not the enemy's getting up from the siege tower on the other side. I don't think so then. And in fact, here's what we prioritize, right? There's forces here just lined up, fish in a barrel, kaboom, just the whole screen. And someone said it's like Michael Jordan. Yeah, absolutely. Once you have your distance down, you kind of know what you're doing. You just rain this shit until the enemy's all dead. You can also blow up the tower here, but I don't think it's a priority. Just kill the troops. Save 1 more shot here for the troops in the gatehouse. The enemy's really wilting bad here. We're starting to send raggedy looking troops. Here comes another wave of raggedy looking troops, and they're coming up into a withering fire. And guess whose archers those are, right? These are our archers getting this EXP. There's our farm boys. And we've got a handful of farm boys there. Now that we don't need to be protected on the walls, bring them down. Right? We don't need to protect the gatehouse anymore. We want to make sure they can't get in the courtyard here. These guys, too, there's a lot of skirmishers here. Believe it or not, I'm going to pull these guys back. I don't mind if the enemy brings troops up because those guys are going to pound them with javelins. These archers here are just ripping everything up. The enemy's bringing forces up on the walls, but those are AI forces still defending. Right? Your AI here is not completely bereft. And what's nice about the gate here is the enemy has to come around that corner. They're going to get smoked, right? Whatever comes around that corner, and they might have just routed. They did. And we can get 1 or 2 shots here for the road. We didn't even get to use our javelins. Yeah. Test out our long-range throws here. Now, this is mega, almost cheat mode power leveling of your character. Like a lot of guys, I don't know. I guess they consider it unethical or whatever. That's up to you. How you play Bannerlord is entirely up to you. I'm not going to tell you guys what's valid and what's not. Ultimately, it's a single-player game. Have a good time. Man, if this seems like an exploit to you with our 11 casualties and 500 kills, then so be it, right? Our main character, look at this explosion. We gained 100 points of athleticism, 85 in siege, 51 in throwing. What's the other one there? Is that, well, not much in tactics, but we're off to the races here, right? And of course, this is where you're really off to the races, right? We don't even, this is not even possible. Like the morale is way over 100 now, right? And then an enormous pile of loot as well. And just like that, we're rich. Although, look at this. These guys are still trying to siege. We attack, I think. You guys aren't getting away. So some guys lament. They're like, yeah, the enemy escapes. Sometimes they'll even break off the siege here. Don't let them, right? They're right here. I'm just going to power level our throwing here. Probably that top one. Yeah, this one is a good perk for us. +2 ammunition, throwing weapons when you start a battle mounted. The lower one is better for your force, right? Your forces take less damage. We're going to take this top one, though, at least short term. I'm going to boost this, too. Traveling that one, and look at this. Now we're starting to get bonus points to our perks, right? Explosion time. Our morale is always going to be 70, right? So that's a great perk. And now we get engineering skills, right? Let's do less chance of getting killed by bombardments. And then the bottom one here is what I remember is usually the best, right? Plus ammo during siege assault. Right? Can you say explosion time? All right, let's sally out here. 98 forces. We're taking all the glory here. I don't know if these other forces will join us. I think so. So you do sally out from the gate, right? We attack. And we learned about a bunch of people here. Ira's here. Yeah, we learned. We're going to learn what they look like laying on the ground, right? We're full steam ahead for sure. And of course, you still do tactics here, right? It looks like we can lose. If you look at the power bar, it says we might be able to lose. And unfortunately, the AI is in here. So, oh man, my mouse fumbled. Oh shit, I did not mean to do that. You almost want to kill these guys here because they're going to take some of our prisoners. Everybody that they kill. There is a way to do this where it's sort of beneficial besides just smoking them in the head. And of course, people are probably aghast, right? What is he doing? Right, one of the things you can do is just let the AI take the beating. We've got all ranged units. The enemy's going to have some cavalry. So we're just going to put our ranged units up here on the hill. Our farm boys are still following me diligently. These little dipshits. I got some cavalry following me. Let the enemy go in full head of steam. In fact, it looks like their force is archers. You know why they have archers, of course? Those are the only forces that didn't get destroyed going inside the castle. Right, so we're going to bring up our forces. But you really want to let these dipshit legionary lead the way. They'll get shot at first, almost for sure. It does look like they're going to waste our time here and try to skirmish. They got 2 archers. Yeah, so you rush forward here. The enemy's in an entrenched position. It's actually a pretty good position. It's way high up on the hill over there. You're going to suffer huge casualties here. So a methodical would be the way to do it. And unfortunately, these fucking dipshits are wasting our time. And they're going to get killed too. All right, so I'm just going to put our troops up high. Can't see it. I can't even see it. But I'm putting them up on the opposite ridge. And then what I like to do in a situation like this is put your cavalry up towards the front in a shield wall. They do a great job absorbing enemy fire. They'll probably get killed. There'll probably be some serious losses to those cavalry. But better those cavalry than our horse archers or our elite skirmishers. And we're still quite a ways away here from this coward AI. They're just going to hide up in the hills. It's annoying. Especially without the RTS mod. I want to make sure I don't take a face shot here and get killed. Our units will do horrific stuff. There's the AI barreling forward. And hopefully most of the losses are those guys, right? They're going straight at the enemy. We're going to skirmish. elite thrower all of a sudden, right? Our character is just becoming a throwing beast. And it's a powerful little force here that's left. Now, they're in a horrible formation. They're basically in a tight square formation with crossbow being flamed. Our skirmishers can fire a bunch of javelins in here. Look at our guys go. Throw those javelins. You can see them go rocketing through the air at the enemy. Oh, now they're charging. Let's bring the farm boys in. Here comes our farm boys. I swear he yelled, "Die, you bastard! I'll tear your limbs!" Right, our farm boys, of course, are all fucking boss. And I don't see their mounted lords anywhere. I would have thought their lords would be mounted all over the place. And if we lose farm boys here, it's kind of okay with me. Right? Those guys are pretty readily replaceable, and I don't really want to lose our skirmishers. So I'm backing these guys up. We'll manually tell them to back up here. Let the farm boys distract the enemy. Our archers are still working. Hit that guy right in the dick. Yeah, I see you trying to shoot me in the face, dude. Kill them, farm boys. Revenge the farm boys here. And they get gunned down to the last man. Beautiful, right? And probably 10 casualties, maybe 15, but they're all recruits, right? 7 of them are recruits. And a beautiful end. We whipped about to this episode here. Unfortunately, we didn't get to the ships. I'm going to append this, though, to the series. Save scumming aside there. Hopefully you fellas don't mind at all that. Obviously, we did that to participate in the siege. And, of course, to continue to experience the parts of the game that need some adjustment. And this is going to be awesome for our campaign, right? And this is insane, right? They had 166 troops. So I'm actually going to say hold out a couple minutes. If you want to see just how rich we get here, let's tally this shit up, right? Like Scrooge McDuck with bags of gold or mountains of gold in his giant armory. Let's deposit this shit into the castle, right? Return to the castle. Hopefully they let us in. They don't always let you in. If you have bad relations with the Lord, they'll tell you to fuck off. All right, so we're going to keep a lot of these troops, but obviously we're 150 over. You don't want to do that, right? That's way, way too many. I think 60, 70 is kind of extreme still. But I'm okay with like 30 over, right? If you want to carry 30 over here, especially if a lot of them are cavalry. The Corsairs aren't bad, but they're so lightly armored. I guess, you know what? We're going to go on the water here. So let's bring ourselves some Corsairs out there. They're mariners, right? The Corsairs have this little thing here, right? Marine infantry, and that's going to help us on the boats. It's going to be a new world for me, or at least a world that I don't visit very much, because obviously, God, we have 16 Corsair chiefs. Talk about getting power leveled by one battle. And we're getting massive influence for dumping all these troops in there. And we got all kinds of good troops in that, right? 15 Asteroid infantry. These are terrific ocean units. They're not Marines, but they're very versatile all-around units. They have javelins, of course. And now the real riches come here, right? We're going to donate prisoners. First, we've got 3 or 4 lords. And then just start at the top, right? Order it by tier. You can't put that many in there, right? So you want to put the most expensive prisoners in. Keep a couple for yourself. And just look at the influence. I can see it in the corner of my eye here, just going through the fucking roof. And we still have way too many, right? We could try to trudge our way to a city, but what I'm going to do here after we end the episode is go down to a reasonable number here. But look at this, 80 times, we're getting almost 300. This is 24 grand in influence just from the prisoners. I can't remember what we got for the rest of that. Yeah, away we go here. I think we're 2 months into this campaign of 50 grand plus a whole lot of influence coming our direction. There's more to come, of course. Hopefully the next time you see us, not hopefully, we do have enough money now. We can go down to Vostrom, commit ourselves to a little bit of ocean battle, and this campaign continues. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode and what you saw here in this episode. I appreciate you fellas for following our channel. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something there. I learned a little bit of something, that there's still some things to fix, and I will see you friends next time.